Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to episode 1 of favourite 40 films ranked. You know, I've had lots of stupid ideas on this channel, if you've been a member of this channel for a while, so I thought I would do something even more stupid. So I'm going to go through my 40 favourite films released by Radiance. Radiance have been going for just over 2 years, and they've skyrocketed up the big board, mainly because they've released some wonderful films, some Italian and Japanese, and you can't go wrong with some Italian and Japanese, sprinkled in with obviously other films. I'm not Radiance complete, I won't be, but I do have a majority of Radiance titles, so it was actually quite hard to get it down to 40, and even harder to rank them because I'm an idiot, but I'm going to give it a go anyway. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail on these films. I'm not going to talk about special features or anything. This is for the film, not the release. I know sometimes that can be different, but for a ranking I'm just going to go by the films. Please let me know at home how many of these titles you have by Radiance, what you think of Radiance. I'm not sponsored by Radiance, which is a shame, but let's go. Hopefully this is helpful. You know, if you're looking for which Radiance titles to maybe take a chance on, I would recommend all of these 40, and obviously in the order that I'm going to do them in. So we'll start with spine number 88. It's hard to believe they're past 100 already, so you can figure out the math of how much 40 titles out of the 100 odd. Spine number 88 from Francois Truffaut. The story of Adele H, starring a 20-year-old Isabelle Adjani. I actually think, I mean, she was Oscar nominated for this performance. I actually think this is a better performance than Possession. I know that's controversial, but in Possession she just goes bananas basically. We can all do that. But I think this performance is absolutely wonderful. As Victor Hugo's daughter, who chases Bruce Robinson, director of With and Lie, of course, but he was an actor, fancied by lots of Italians. She chases him to Nova Scotia, and ends up going quite mad. It's a beautiful film. Truffaut really grasps the period and the time, but it also has that sort of unreality to it as well. It's quite a wonderful film, and as I said, Adjani's quite fantastic in it. So that's number 40. We've got a long way to go. Dig in. Number 75, part of a box set. This comes from Japan, and this is Tezuko Tanaka's The Snow Woman. Now this is a riff on one of Japan's famous kind of ghost stories, about a snow woman who saves a wandering soul, and then in return tells the wandering soul, don't tell anybody what happened here tonight, and that's basically the setup of the film. The man then meets a mysterious woman and they get married and have a child. You can figure out the rest. It's pretty much the same story that was used by Kobayashi in the first chapter of Kwaidan with Tetsuya Nakadai. But again, it's a beautiful little film. This is from 1968, so that's number 39. Number 38 is one of the early releases. It's spine number 6, and this is Rota Sona, or Red Sun. This is German. So already we went from France to Japan to Germany, so that kind of shows you, gets you a good taste of Radiance if you're not familiar with Radiance. And this is a film by Rudolph Tommy, a film that some people love as I do and some people don't. It's kind of German new wave, about a guy who falls into this group of women who have a certain policy of going out with men for a limited period of time and then killing the men. It's quite wonderful. Again, not everybody's going to like it, but then not everybody's going to like every single film ever made. But I think it's absolutely wonderful. So that's Rota Sona. At number 37, spine number 64. This is Hal Ashby's debut, The Landlord, with Beau Bridges. You could argue this is a film of its time. This is from 1970. As you can tell by Beau Bridges, it's a little bit 60s as well. And he plays a spoiled brat who decides to become a landlord in a rough area of town. It's mainly black folks in the tower block, and he gets to know them and has lots of adventures with them. Great performance by Lee Grant as his insane mother. Produced by Norman Jewison, who knows a thing about films about race relations. And this one works really well. It's got a great score, based on a novel, and it actually talks about race and race relations in an intelligent way, but it's also quite confrontational, and again with dialogue that wouldn't fly today, but we've still got the same issues and discussions that we have in this film. Yeah, this one's really good, with an amazing dinner table scene, which again contains dialogue that you probably wouldn't get away with today. But it's pretty fantastic as a debut goes. So that's The Landlord at number 37. And number 36 is a recent release, so it's 110 is the spine number. 110 already. And this is Tom Noonan's What Happened Was. I didn't actually realise Tom Noonan had directed a few films. Of course, Francis Dollarhide from Manhunter. So this is a two-hander, basically, set in a flat, based on Tom Noonan's own play, which he had in the round. And the woman is Karen Silas, who I am a big fan of from Hal Hartley, from Simple Men. And it's really about the awkwardness of dating. They both work together, and Tom Noonan comes over for a meal. There's kind of crossed wires of why they're there. It really talks about isolation in a city. And these are character actors that don't really get a chance to shine that often. Obviously Tom Noonan's been in a bunch of stuff, from again Manhunter and Heat, to playing villains just because of the way he looks. Last Action Hero, for example. And again, Karen Silas, again it's mainly character roles, supporting roles. But there's a scene near the end of the film which is just absolutely powerhouse acting, and it is one of the the best kind of two-handers you'll see. He's right up there with Oleana by Mamet. Yeah, the first half of this is interesting and funny, and there's that awkwardness, and then there is a point where it kind of gets into the second half, the dynamics between the two change, and it really takes off, and that kind of final 20 minutes is absolute gold. So yes, it's a film that's all about talk, but it is absolutely wonderful, especially if you're a certain kind of person, and being a solitary Ronin, this kind of was in my wheelhouse, and Tom Noonan is one of my favourite people, even though, don't get me wrong, at the start when Karen Silas lets him into her flat, there was alarm bells going off in my head going, you've let the Tooth Fairy into your flat. Yeah, but no carnage ensues. So that's spine number 110, and that's at number 36. Number 35 is kind of the beauty of Radiance. It's a double feature, films by Armano Olmi, and we have Il Posto and Fidanzati. So these are two films, black and white, from 1961-63. One of them's 97 minutes, one of them's 77 minutes. That again, I wasn't sure whether I'd like, but I actually strangely loved them. Obviously only loved them as much as position number 35, but these are wonderful. Il Posto is just about two young people finding their footing, job interviews, and then finally getting a job. Burgeoning romance, again the kind of film that I should detest, but it's absolutely fantastic. And then Fidanzati is kind of a new wave neo-realist. A guy gets a job that moves away from his wife, and it's about that separation. Again, a film that I really shouldn't be interested in, but it's absolutely beautiful, and again, because it has new wave elements, it messes about with time and has wonderful cuts, and it's got really nice cinematography. So again, this is kind of a perfect example of what Radiance do brilliantly. Films that you've never heard of but are actually wonderful, because Mr. Simeone obviously has taste. Number 34, from Tai Kato, again another filmmaker I wasn't familiar with until Radiance came along. So this is I, the Executioner. This is spine number 42. I think I forgot to say Il Posto and Fidanzati are spine number 95, 96 for those playing along at home. So this is spine number 42, I, the Executioner. And this stars a familiar face, which I can't remember what he's called, he's so familiar, but he's in a ton of films. This is from 1968, and this goes from very dark places to more dark places. You can see him there, you recognise him, he's in lots of Japanese films. Is this the best Tai Kato film? No, it's not, because this is only 34. Perhaps controversially low, spine number 2, if you can remember back in the day, spine number 2 for Radiance. This is Fukasaku's Yakuza Graveyard. The problem is this, I've seen so many Yakuza films. This is from 1976, so it's one of the later ones. Takashi Miike remade it. The original's still the best one. They all become just one 72-hour Yakuza film. So again, they're all good to very good, but very few of them kind of stand out for me. Bizarrely, I'm one of the strange people who think Fukusaku's best films are things like Message from Space or Legend of the Eight Samurai, which Eureka's just released, rather than his Yakuza films. But that's Spine number 2. I would still recommend it, obviously. It's number 33. Number 77. Sorry, Spine number... I'm not doing a top 100. Spine number 77 from Yusuo Matsumoto, who did Funeral Parade of Roses. Dogra Magra, which was released in Radiance's amazing Halloween October bundle. This is a period piece about a man who wakes up in an asylum, and two doctors, not really showing the inside of them, booklet and discs obviously, two doctors kind of want to remind him who he is. It's Matsumoto, so it's odd and strange. It is in colour, it's striking in colour. Again, not for everybody, but what film is. Yeah, it's an experience, so I would highly recommend Dogra Magra for those of a certain disposition. At number 31, don't worry, there are some American films, even though I think this is my only American film in the top 40. Spine number 3, one of the early ones, Todd Solondz's Welcome to the Dollhouse, with this wonderful red cover. Yeah, this is so wonderful. It's not quite happiness, but nothing's happiness. But this is blackly comic, a coming of age, growing up film that doesn't have that kind of cloying sentimentality and nostalgia that quite a lot of those sort of films do. Yeah, this is quite wonderful. Next up, at number 30, it's Spine number 40. It's by Kato again, and it's By a Man's Face Shall You Know Him. A lovely title that just rolls off the tongue. This stars what has become one of my favourite actors, who of course doesn't actually tell you his name, from 1966. He was in Hideo Gosha's Violent Streets. He actually was a Yakuza who spent time in jail and then came out and ended up going into acting, and he's really good. He's also excellent in Gosha's The Wolves opposite Nakadai, which takes some doing. Yeah, he stars here as a doctor who doesn't like violence, but sometimes a doctor's got to do what a doctor's got to do. Again, post-war, so as usual, everyone post-war, post-occupation, it's America's fault. In Spine number 89, my 29th favourite Radiance film, this is The Man from Majorca, which is not set in Majorca. This is a film by Bo Widerberg from Sweden. The Criterion have a selection of his films, which I might have to get at some point. Again, so we're in Sweden. Again, Radiance spreads the love throughout the world. And this is another odd Widerberg cop film. Another one might be on this list. Again, these are hard to describe. They're from the 70s, I believe. They're not, they're from 1984. I should really do research before I do this, shouldn't I? This one's about corruption, but very much like the other Bo Widerberg film that may or may not appear in this list. This doesn't go the way that you think it will go. These films are not by the book, paint by numbers. These are rough around the edges. There's a great dialogue scene about McDonald's in Sweden. Yeah, it's rough around the edges. It's a shaggy dog story, and again, it's not set in Mallorca, even though it's called The Man from Mallorca. Again, not for everybody, but there's a definite vibe to Weiderberg films. Number 16 this time, spine number. This is number 28. This came from the Damiani. Again, Damiani is another director that's rocketed up the board pretty much because of Radiance. This is How to Kill a Judge. This was in the wonderful Damiani Franco Nero set. And this is Franco Nero as a filmmaker who makes a film about judges being killed, and then some judges start getting killed. This is wonderful. You know, in the box set, Franco Nero kind of gives 3 different performances in these 3 different films. There's much more kind of nuance to Nero than what we're perhaps used to in his typical kind of westerns. Yeah, this is wonderful. Not as good as Illustrious Corpses by Rossi, but not much is better than Illustrious Corpses by Rossi. That's How to Kill a Judge, number 28. Number 27 is Taiketo again, and it's 18 Years in Prison, again with the ex-Yakuza with the scar on his face. Noboru Ando? That's the fellow there. And this is about a guy getting out of prison, strange enough, and looking for revenge on the people that put him there. Again, it's just a wonderful, wonderful film. At 26, perhaps you could argue this is a little low. It's kind of a classic of world cinema. It's available in Criterion. It's Il Sorpasso. This was in the Italian Comedies box set. And if you know anything about Italian comedy, comedy usually means kind of black comedy. This stars Vittorio Gassman and Jean-Louis Trintignant. Directed by Dino Risi. This is basically a road movie about the straight-laced Trintignant and the freewheeling Gassman. I think I gave this a 4 because Gassman in most of his films is just a little bit too annoying for me, and unfortunately it's the same in this one. It is saved obviously by Trintignant, it is saved by what it's about, and it does have a brilliant ending, but Gassman does annoy me sometimes, and that's why it's only at 26. At 25, I'll end all the drama and mystery. It's the other Bo Weiderberg film, The Man on the Roof. This is spine number 9, so again one of the early ones. This is fantastic. This is about a man on a roof, but the man happens to have a rifle and he's sniping. So again, this is a police procedural, but very much like The Man from Mallorca, it doesn't go the way standard sniper on a roof films go, so it's full of surprises. You can almost smell 1976 Sweden. It's just a wonderful, gritty, again rough around the edges, shaggy dog, and again doesn't go the way you think it will. Excuse me. Spine number 38. This is my 24th favourite Radiance title. It's Damiani again, and it's Goodbye and Amen, which is a strange little film, because it's part espionage film, part siege film. It has a really ingenious way that the bad people try and escape. Again, full of surprises. I think Tony Masante's in this, Claudia Cardinale's in it. Set in a hotel, well, that's where the siege is. It's a really fun one, and again, another really good film by Damiani, who, as I said, has Roxy's up aboard. Because if you're not aware, I'm not a huge fan of the big Italian directors, even though I haven't seen all their stuff. I'm more a fan of the Petris and the Rossis and the, well, now Damiani's and the Petrangelis and the Monicellis. Next, Spine number 69. This is from the World Noir Volume 2 box set, which is fantastic. And this comes in at number 23. This is Takumi Furukawa's Cruel Gun Story, which is actually in the Criterion Eclipse Japanese noir set. This is Joe Shishido. And it's about an armoured truck robbery, which is wonderful, and then the aftermath, which is not so wonderful. Black and white, really efficient filmmaking. It's not a long film, doesn't need to be. I'd highly recommend it, and highly recommend the box set, obviously. Then number 22, Spine number 14, the first film in the Nero Damiani Mafia box set. This is Day of the Owl with Lee J. Cobb. This has a couple of titles, obviously including Il Giorno della Civetta. This is Nero as a small town cop investigating corruption with the head of the mafia, Lee J. Cobb. Obviously Claudia Cardinale as a local widow who Nero tries to get to testify, amongst other things. Yeah, wonderful film. Another really good Nero performance that, again, we're not perhaps used to. At number 21, we're almost at the top 20, hang on there. Spine number 83, part of the Louis Buñuel box set. This is Viridiana with Fernando Rey in one of his more hilarious performances, as an uncle who spends time with his niece, who's a nun, and tries to corrupt her. Yes, it's Buñuel with his sense of humour, beautiful black and white cinematography. But is it the best film in that Buñuel box set? We'll have to see, won't we? And then now into the top 20, and at 20, Spine number 87, just a wonderful film by Peter Fleischmann. So again, we're back in, I think this counts as a German film? No, French, sorry. This is Weak Spot with an interesting cover. This stars Michel Piccoli, who I was watching Brunel's Death in the Garden today. I didn't realise Michel Piccoli was in 247 films. Answers in a postcard if you can name them all. Ugo Tognazzi and the wonderful Mario Adorf, who was in a lot of films himself. This is just a wonderful political film from 1975, set in Greece, or based on a Greece story maybe. Pretty much just about a regular guy being picked up by the authorities because they think he's a communist or part of a spy or anti-government, and he goes on a road trip with Piccoli and Adorf to try and get a confession out of him. So it's a wonderful little road film, but it's also wonderfully apt to just about all those fascist regimes that Europe had at one point or another. At number 19, speaking of European countries, it's from Germany. Part of the World Noir Volume 2, which was a brilliant set. This is Black Gravel by Helmut Kottner, which probably isn't how to pronounce that name. Again, this is a wonderful noir, strangely enough, which all surrounds the death of a dog. Well, it doesn't really, but that's a very important part of the film. Again, not a lot of people in it are likeable, but because it's so well shot and it's so compelling, again, it doesn't actually matter that they're not that likeable. Yeah, this is kind of jet black as well as being black and white. Highly recommend that. Now we're at number 18, and we're back to Damiano Damiani, and this is Spine number 81, and this is A Man on His Knees, which perhaps isn't the best title in the world, starring Juliana Gemma, who may appear later in the list, Eleonora Giorgi and Michelle Placido. This is basically about a low-level hoodlum who is targeted for death, and this is him desperately trying to avoid death. Yeah, it's just great. You don't need to say any more. Damiani keeps the pressure up, and Gemma's wonderful as a man. Not necessarily on his knees, but certainly a man who's desperate. At number 17, starring a legend of the game, this is Tony Arzenta, or Big Guns, directed by Duccio Tessari, starring Alain Delon. Again, this is a revenge film, as Delon sways a bloody path through France. It's a bit kind of like Point Blank to some degree, but obviously Alain Delon, how can this not be in the top 40? It's Alain Delon. At number 16, hopefully there'll be more from this director. This is Spine number 45. This is Keiji Yoshida's A Story Written with Water. I was going to call it Shape of Water. This is from 1965, starring Mariko Okada, who's probably second in my favourite Japanese actresses, behind obviously Yakao Wakao. Yeah, again, Yoshida is part of the new wave, and this is just absolutely gorgeous, black and white. Yeah, I'm not going to go into the synopsis. It's just a Yoshida film, so you need to watch it, basically. This was in World Noir, the first box set, I believe. It's hard to keep track. Spine number 34, and this is number 15 in my list. It's Lino Ventura, Witness in the City. This is fantastic. I mean, how many films does Lino Ventura play a guy looking for revenge? But he plays a guy looking for revenge. This is sumptuous black and white, directed by Edward Molinaro. Most of this just takes place at night, with Ventura stalking around city streets looking shady. What more do you need? This is Spine number 12, and this is number 14. Might be a little bit low on some people's lists. This is Kusako Yamashita's Big Time Gambling Boss. This might be the film, or one of the films I've actually watched the most, because I've been showing it to quite a lot of people. This stars Tomasaburo Wakayama and Koji Saruta, two legends of the game. This is absolutely brilliant. Saruta kind of plays the calm, collected one who kind of gets snubbed for taking over the clan, and Wakayama comes out of prison assuming that Saruta has become the boss, but he hasn't, so he's furious about it. And Saruta tries to calm him down, but you can't calm down Tomosoburo Wakayama, can you? Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Another Japanese wonderful film. Spine Number 13, one of their most beautiful releases. Again, Radiance in October 2024, absolutely knocked out of the park. It's Haxan, which I do have on Criterion Blu-ray, but this smashes the Criterion. This is Spine Number 78. Gorgeous box. Obviously you can get the standard edition. Yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful, and obviously it contains the Witchcraft Through the Ages as well. One of the most impressive silent films of all time, still disturbing, and of course restored absolutely beautifully. So that's Haxan, and absolutely wonderful. I think this is out of print, because it is absolutely gorgeous. So that's number 13. Number 12, what a surprise. We're back to Japan, and this is Elegant Beast. This is Yuzo Kawashima, but more interestingly this is written by Kaneto Shindo. So if you followed some of my random reviews of Yasuo Masamura films, some of his best films were written by Shindo, who of course was a director as well, but he did a lot of writing, and certainly some of Masamura's best are written by Shindo. There's somebody you should recognise. Yeah, this is an amazing film from 1962. It's basically a family of grifters, obviously with a Yakao Wakao. It's pretty much all set in an apartment, but what makes this just stunning is the compositional awareness of Kawashima. No two shots are the same, and the compositions are like jaw-dropping. The fact that pretty much it's all in one location. It's a master work of setup and composition, and where to put your camera and how not to make one location dull and boring. It's always dynamic, and it's a fun little black comedy as well. So that's Elegant Beast, number 12. Number 11, again, a film never heard of. It's Claude Berry's The Chow Pantin, from 1983, starring Kaluch, who was a comedian who died young. And again, this is a perfect example. It's about two characters that, again, aren't the most likeable characters in the world, but they're likeable enough that you actually care about them. Again, it's one of those films that could have been shot in smell-o-vision. You can kind of smell the Parisian streets at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's just kind of wonderful about two people who kind of meet and don't really like each other, but kind of grow to like each other, and then something happens that causes one of them to do something. Just wonderfully drawn characters, and a perfect example of, yeah, your characters don't need to be the most likeable characters, but they have to have something compelling about them, which lots of filmmakers just don't understand that, or maybe it's just me. We're getting into the top 10 now. Now it's serious. So we're in Japan, in Koreyoshi Kurohawa's I Am Waiting, which again I didn't actually realise was in the Eclipse Criterion on DVD. This is just wonderful. This was in the World Noir Volume 1. Sensational, only 90 minutes. It's about a boxer, an ex-boxer and a waitress. Pretty much they get embroiled with the mob. And it's as simple as that, but it's just, the dialogue's wonderful. It has that massive streak of fatalism that I just love in noir. These characters know they're doomed, but they go ahead anyway. Again, wonderful locations, just a beautiful Japanese noir, not a Japanese noir, don't know what that is. So that's I Am Waiting, top 10. At number 9, a relatively recent one, Spine Number 71, Marco Bellocchio's Slap the Monster on page 1. But of course this might be in the top 10 because of the man in the cover, Gian Maria Volonte, who plays a newspaper man who catches wind of a story, but of course it's a film that Volonte's in, so you know it's political, and it's about corruption, and it's about the control of the press, and it's about the press compromising, it's about the press putting kind of money before the truth. You know what it's going to be if it's a film with Volonte and it's about corruption. It's not going to be a nice happy film about solving corruption. Yeah, no more needs to be said. It's Volonte. See Volonte, buy Volonte, watch Volonte. That's number 9, something a little bit different. Spine Number 79, again part of that magical October that Radiance gave us. This is Riccardo Freda's I Vampiri, which may or may not have been finished by Mario Bava. Mario Bava did the production design, no sorry, shot it, and it looks Bava-esque. This is one of the most important vampire films of all time, starring Gianna Maria Canali, Carlo D'Angelo, Dario Michaelis, Wandisa Gueda and Renato Tontini. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful. This is from 1950, yes, 1957. Was there not a famous version of Dracula in 1958? That's just me. At number 7, you can probably predict the top 10 at this point. Number 7, it's Volonte, it's Elio Petri, it's Irene Pappas, it's We Still Kill the Old Way. Again, I had this on a not very good DVD, so I was ecstatic when Radiance released it. There's still some Petries that Radiance need to get their hands on. This is about Sicilian corruption and mafia. So strangely enough, it's a political film about corruption starring Volonte. I wonder how that's going to end. I'm sure that'll be happy endings all over. Yeah, looks wonderful, great performances. Of course, Volonte heads the show. Fantastic. Number 6 now, Spine Number 22. This is The Iron Prefect. Again, this is about mafia in Sicily. Directed by Pasquale Scotteri, which I'm not that familiar with his work, but this is an absolute banger, as the kids might say. Starring Giuliano Gemma and Claudia Cardinale. Scotteri originally wanted Burt Lancaster, couldn't get him, and then said he would take anybody apart from Giuliano Gemma, and of course that's who he got. But Gemma is absolutely brilliant in this. You know, there's no grinning from him. This is from 1977, so it's a bit later, but this is absolutely wonderful. Again, this is one of the Radiances. I've probably seen it about 4 times, because again, it's one of those ones that I try and show people. Yeah, great tension, great drama, great performances, and Giuliana Gemma is absolutely fantastic. Number 5, which is not that predictable. Again, a lovely set. I mean, I've got this film in Kino Lorber. But this set's absolutely beautiful along the lines of the Haxan set. This is spy number 53, and it's Bava's Planet of the Vampires. I mean, look at that set. If you're a cardboard fan, the cardboard doesn't come quite as beautiful as this. I mean, obviously there is a standard edition if you're not so much a fan of cardboard, or if you're sensible, one of the two. Again, you have a nice little booklet. Of course, that's the standard, well, that's a reversible of the standard. Yeah, absolutely beautiful. Certainly may have inspired Dan O'Bannon when he was writing Alien. Obviously Ridley Scott's never seen this film. You know, forget Alien may have been influenced, but he's just never seen Planet of the Vampires. I mean, that sounds bizarre. Yeah, Bava classic. Shouldn't work, but it just does. Absolutely gorgeous use of colour. Oh. At number 4, perhaps the most surprising one, certainly in the top 5, but this is one of those films that blew my socks off. And I wear 2 pairs and blew all 4 socks off. This is a 2-disc, spy number 56 and 57. Films by Vittorio De Seta. The second disc is a bunch of short films, which are beautiful in themselves. But the main feature is Bandits of Orgo Solo, which I did a random review of. And you can see there's quite a lot of short films in the second disc. This is absolutely stunning. I mean, this is not a 4K, but it looks like a 4K. This is black and white in the Italian countryside. It's a simple tale of a shepherd who gets a case of mistaken identity, so he gets chased by the army trying to hunt down criminals. So it's basically just a trek through the mountains and fields and trees and sheep. And again, you go, well, why should I watch that? And it's such a simple tale of simple folk, not in a derogatory sense, but it's just absolutely beautiful. Again, it's not a 4K, but it looks like a 4K. It's just absolutely stunning. And if you get one recommendation from this favourite 40 list, I would highly recommend you pick this up because it's absolutely wonderful. It's one of those films that your smack is just gobbed throughout. It's just absolutely beautiful. Now we're in the top 3, and again, if you've followed the channel, you might be able to guess what the top 3 is. This is spy number 28, which came in a nice lovely little box. I think it was the first kind of mini box that they did. This is Messiah of Evil. This version is sold out. I think this is available in Severn as well. This is incredible. I'd never seen it. If I tell you this was directed by the writers of Howard the Duck, but it's one of the most amazing horror films you'll ever see. So this pair were pals of George Lucas. They went to UCLA with George Lucas, or USC, whichever one that George Lucas went to. He doesn't talk to me anymore. And they were co-writing or helping writing American Graffiti, and they got the offer to go make their own film, and they made this. It was compromised at release, but it's still phenomenal. It's basically a folk horror, but it's like California beaches. This woman goes to try and find her father, who's an artist, in a little coastal town, not unlike the coastal town in The Fog, The Carpenter. His father's an artist. She lives in his place, which is just a stunning place as far as production design, and The people seem to be acting strangely. It's just full of iconic moments. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's bizarre, it's strange. I can't believe it took me this long to see it. Everybody should own a copy of Messiah of Evil because it is just stunning. Radiance did have t-shirts of this. I don't know whether they're still available, but it's just amazing. It prefigures certain scenes in Dawn of the Dead. It prefigures things like demons. It prefigures actually quite a lot. And then you just go, yeah, it was written by the people who wrote Howard the Duck. It's quite bizarre. Shouldn't work, but it works so beautifully. So the top two, again, if you're familiar with my channel, you should kind of be able to guess the top two. Spine number 84, part of a box set. It's Brunel's Exterminating Angel. Yes, I have this on the Criterion Blu-ray as well. But of course, I was going to get the Brunel box set regardless. Yeah, just typical Brunel. A bunch of middle class people go to a house to have dinner, and after dinner they can't get out of the dining room. It's not explained, you don't have to, and people's little foibles and the satire of the middle class ensue. And then the ending is typical Brunel humour. Yeah, just a wonderful film, looks gorgeous. Yeah, just don't go for dinner parties. Brunel obviously didn't like people who went for dinner parties. And then finally, it's Spine number 1, and it had to be number 1. It really sums up why I love Radiance, why I originally got into Radiance, because it features two of my favourite people. It's a film by Elio Petri, and it stars Volonte. It's Working Class Goes to Heaven, or Lulu the Tool, as it's otherwise known. Yeah, this had to be number 1. This was the film that made me go, oh, Radiance might actually be something special. All these labels for all these years have had the chance to release Working Class Goes to Heaven, and none of them have. It was the wonderful Fran Simeone who decided, let's release the Working Class Goes to Heaven. This is one of Petrie's masterpieces. It's about Volonte, who is a perfect employee at a factory. He can make widgets quicker than everybody else. When people are slowing down, management get him to show them how it's done. He's a good soldier until he hurts his hand, and then his view of the owners of the factory and management changes. It's Petrie, so of course it's socio-political. It's Volonte, so of course it's socio-political. He didn't make fluff films. His films always had a point. He was very choosy in what projects he did and what projects he didn't do. Morricone does one of his more interesting scores, shall we say. It's very mechanical, very machine based. It's a very noisy film. If it's not equipment going off, it's people shouting at each other. It's protests from student bodies and union people to management people. It's a very loud, abrasive, in your face film, because it kind of has to be, because it's about certain things. Again, Volonte's brilliant, as you'd expect. Great support from everybody else. It's just a wonderful, wonderful film, and it's fitting that it's my favourite film by Radiance. It's number 1 in the Spine, and it's number 1 in my heart. Great stuff. If you're not familiar with Volonte or Petrie, it's a great place to start. And that's my favourite 40 films ranked from Radiance. Again, perhaps not the smartest idea I've ever had. I'm going to do an indicator one next, so that should be fun as well. It's a fun process. And I guess this is kind of the 40 Radiance films that I would recommend the most if you're looking to get into Radiance. Perhaps not buy all 40 at the one time, unless you have a massive wallet. But yeah, hopefully that's been helpful. If you're on the fence about some of these titles that I've talked about, go ahead and plunge. Again, for some of the special editions, there will be standard editions out as well for the ones that went out of print. So thanks very much for watching. My favourite 40 ranked of Radiance releases. And hopefully you'll join me again for the Indicator version. Who knows, I might even go insane and do a Criterion one, and an imprint one, and an Arrow one, who knows. Let me know in the comments if that's something you would like to see me try and rank my favourite 40 Criterion films. So this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying thanks very much and farewell.